On this episode of After Prison Show, what happens when American History X meets the Sons of Anarchy? You get the most highly anticipated prison movie of this summer. Well, at least by old Joe here at After Prison Show. Shot Caller, starring this guy, better known for his role on Game of Thrones, a TV show my brother swears I should be watching due to all of the bang action in it. Also starring this guy, known as Shane from season 1 of The Walking Dead. Damn it, Shane. Why'd you have to go get old Rick's wife pregnant? In this video, we're gonna talk about Shot Caller and compare it to real life prison. Based on what we know just from the trailer alone, how real do we anticipate this movie to be in comparison to real life prison on this episode of After Prison Show. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and in this video we are going to be talking about a new prison movie that is coming out mid-August called Shot Caller. Now let me say first that this is not a sponsored video, but I did just see the trailer for this movie thanks to somebody who tweeted this to me, and I gotta tell you, I cannot wait for this movie to come out. So with all of that, in this video we're going to be talking about what I know thus far about this movie based upon the trailer, and we're going to be using all of that to compare that to what it's really like to be in prison. So without further ado, what do you say we go ahead and dive head first into this video? You know, when I was trying to figure out how to do this video, I watched like a bunch of reaction videos. In fact, there's a bunch of reaction videos already about this movie Shot Caller. And I gotta tell you, one thing that I started to think about while watching all of these reaction videos was, I don't really see what the big deal about them is. I mean, we could have done this video where I was watching the trailer to this movie and I could have been like, oh my God, that looks amazing. I mean, of course I would have pulled out all the stops for that, but I feel doing the video this way will be a lot better. This new upcoming prison movie Shot Caller is about a guy who ends up getting in a car accident. He's driving with his wife, his best friend, and his best friend's wife in the back seat of the car, ends up running a red light because he's not paying attention, and they end up getting T-boned at an intersection, which ultimately kills his best friend, and the main character ends up going to prison for either manslaughter or second-degree murder because of that. Now, when you get a charge like that, I mean, ultimately, that's a murder charge, and because of that, you're going to end up going to at least a medium security prison, which is what happens to our main character here, a guy who also plays in a TV show Game of Thrones. Something else that I haven't seen that my brother is always telling me about, saying, dude, are you watching Game of Thrones? They have major sex in that show. And every time he tells me this, I'm like, you know, why do I have to watch a TV show to see all of these sex scenes? I mean, if I was locked up, of course I would like to be watching this show, probably going on a date right there from my bunk. That is, if we even had HBO, which I can guarantee you in no damn prisons do they have that channel. But out here in the free world, I mean, there's Pornhub. We don't need to watch Game of Thrones. In fact, I'm curious to know that if you go to Pornhub and you type in Game of Thrones, I'm quite certain some things are gonna pop up. But back to this movie Shot Caller. Our main character ends up going to at least a medium security prison in California. In the trailer, we can clearly see prisoners wearing prison uniforms with a big old CDC on the back of those uniforms that stands for California Department of Corrections. And upon getting to whatever prison this guy is sent to, he goes into this prison unbeknownst, I'm not even sure if this is the right term to be using for this, unbeknownst of anything that is about to happen or how things actually go while serving time. And upon getting to the prison, this guy immediately has an altercation with a black guy, like as soon as he goes out on the prison yard. Now let's just back up a little bit and like paint this picture a little better. This guy goes to prison not knowing how anything's gonna go, probably already imagining what he has to do when getting to prison. And he walks out on this rec yard and he's just looking around. He doesn't know anybody. He has no idea where he's supposed to go, what he's supposed to do. All he probably knows is he's just got to kind of stay out of the way. Not really have any kind of problems with anybody. Just try to keep his head down a little bit and just try to survive the best way he possibly can. Now, while trying to do this, I'm sure he's seeing everybody looking at him. He's seeing all of the different gangs out here on this rec yard. He's seeing the white dudes. He's seeing the black dudes. He's probably seeing the Hispanic guys, And again, this guy has no idea what he's supposed to do. And somewhere in the midst of all of this, he ends up having an altercation with a black dude. This dude comes up to him, tells him, "Move! Get out of my way!" And as soon as this happens, this dude's probably thinking this is that moment right here where he's got to do something. Because if he doesn't do anything, if he lets this dude just basically chump him out here on the rec yard in front of everybody, with everybody certain to be watching this take place, especially all of the gangs. If he doesn't do anything in this moment right here, he's probably certain that his time is sure to be a nightmare. And again, from the trailer, it appears that when this altercation takes place, this guy just basically takes flight. And he gets to fighting right out there on the rec yard, probably within the first day of him being at this prison. Now let's just take this scene right here and let's compare this to real life prison. When you first get to prison and you don't know anybody, you're not with any gangs, you're not with anybody at all, you're just in there by yourself, and something like this happens to you, especially out on the rec yard or in any kind of an area where everybody is watching you, you better do something. I'm not saying that when you first get to prison, you gotta walk up and hit the biggest guy there, because in a lot of cases, that's not gonna work out too well for you, and that can only further lead to more problems. But if you are first getting to prison and you don't know anybody, you're not with a clique, you're not with a gang, you're not with a set, and something like this takes place, you better react. And when you do react, it doesn't even matter if you win or you lose. Because of the simple fact that you stood your ground, at least everybody who is seeing this take place right then and there will know that if they do try you, win or lose, you're gonna fight. You are gonna stand up for yourself. And if you don't do that, oh my God, what time will be like for you on the inside. Now, when our main character from this movie, Shot Callers, does this, it's obvious that the Aryans, that's who it's gonna be in this movie, it's obvious that these Aryans are watching this take place, and they're seeing this new white guy come onto this prison yard and stand up for himself. So after this altercation, it's obvious that the Aryans do approach this guy and try to feel him out, see if he could be a good fit for the gang. They're definitely going to want to know what he's locked up for. Does he have any sex offenses? Is he some kind of a weirdo? And because of the fact that he's locked up for a car crash that killed his best friend, and because he stood his ground, he's already gaining a little bit of ground with this gang. And one thing that I can tell you just from seeing the trailer for this movie, Shot Callers, is that they do a damn good job of portraying what it's like at some of these higher level prisons where you have to be with a gang. And in a lot of cases, you have to be with a gang of your own damn race. So let's just imagine what this is like for somebody who has never been through this before. I mean, from the opening of the movie trailer, we see that this guy just appears to be some regular family guy who ends up getting locked up because of an accident and is put into this entirely different underbelly type of a world where things are completely different from anything that he's ever known before, and also extremely damn violent. Imagine the thoughts that would be going through somebody's mind in that moment right there where you're standing in prison, you've just had an altercation and had to fight somebody who is probably surely a gang member themselves, and you're now being approached by a gang of your own race, whatever that may be, and they're telling you you're gonna need to be a part of this or else you're not gonna make it in here. Imagine what it would be like to hear something like that. And you know, as this trailer continues to play out, it's obvious that a race war is brewing at this prison, and here's this new guy, this new recruit, this prospect, this guy who is just starting to get approached by this gang, and they're telling him, hey, look, man, you're gonna have to get your hands dirty in here. Now, I'm not sure how much time this guy gets sentenced to for this accident that killed his best friend in this movie, and I'm also not sure how far into his sentence that he's serving does this race war that they show in the trailer take place. But it's quite evident from the trailer that this guy definitely gets heavily involved in this race war that takes place, and even goes as far as to end up stabbing a guy, which when he does stab this guy, it's caught on camera, and he ends up having to go back to court for this. But it's crazy the way they show this, where this guy's wife is in the courtroom. She sees the camera footage of her husband stabbing this other guy, and she sees that this time that he's serving and where he's at being at this prison is actually transforming her husband into something that, you know, she never knew him to be before. And that, again, compared to the real thing, is something most certain to happen while locked up. Prison will definitely change who you are as a person, because this is something that you've never before been exposed to this crazy, chaotic, violent fucking world where you have to conform and adapt in order to survive. And if you don't do this, well, then there's a damn good chance that you won't. Now, also, let's talk about this gang war, race war that happens inside of the prison. How realistic is that? How likely is that to actually happen while locked up? And to be honest with you, it's likely. It can and it does happen. Does it happen all of the time? It just depends where you're at, what the tension and the atmosphere is like at that institution, what is actually going on there, what is the relationship like between the different gangs. So yes, it can and it does happen. And this movie does a damn good job, at least from the trailer, of depicting a situation like that taking place. Now, with this gang/race war that we see taking place in the trailer of this movie, I'm gonna go ahead and make an assumption that this is where the title for this movie, Shot Caller, actually begins from. Because again, here is this guy who's just getting to prison, just becoming a part of this Aryan Brotherhood. In this gang/race war, he stabs a guy in the process of that. And because he commits such a violent act against another prisoner, especially from a rival gang, I'm quite certain this is what helps to start this main character climbing up this hierarchy of this gang that he is involved with while in prison. So I'm wondering, is it this main character who actually becomes this shot caller, or is it somebody else who's basically calling the shots and directing our main character down the course that he must go down while serving time, and then also after coming home from serving that time? Again, just keep in mind the fact that this is a guy who never before was in trouble in his entire life, and yet ends up going to prison and becoming a part of this gang, and like literally his life does a complete 180. The trailer wraps up with the main character from this movie out of prison running around with Shane from The Walking Dead, and there's talk of this big time gun transaction that they're gonna be a part of. And it's hearing this that really makes me think of that TV show Sons of Anarchy, because the Sons of Anarchy were heavily involved in selling illegal guns in California. You know, I really have no idea what this movie's gonna be like. Is this gonna be a total dud, or is this gonna be a great freaking film? But I'll tell you this much, I'm super excited for this movie. I truly feel like this is a crossbreed between American History X and the Sons of Anarchy. Mix those two together, and that's what I feel we have right here with this upcoming movie that's coming out in August, Shot Caller. That again, I promise you I will be seeing on the day it comes out, and I'll be telling you all about it. I truly believe this movie is going to depict in a very realistic way what serving time can be like, especially at these higher level institutions where being a part of a gang is literally a matter of life and death. Hey, look, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did so, please leave a big old like and a comment letting me know exactly what you thought about it. As always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace! I want to give a few shout outs from Twitter from yesterday. Yesterday we tweeted out yesterday's video, and I said if you retweeted that, there's a good possibility that I will shout you out, and that is what I would like to do now. Shouting out these awesome people who did retweet yesterday's tweet. Josh Warden, Mace Flood, DJ Heritage, Cat Hay, Sally, DPH, Broken Wicked Soul. My God, that sounds pretty crazy. And K. Scheme. Thanks to all of you and to everyone else who retweeted yesterday's tweet. And until next time, peace!